We'd like to thank our sponsor, Purina Pro Plan, Fuel for Life. More sporting dog champions feed Pro Plan than any other brand of dog food. Welcome back to another episode of Save It for the Blind. I'm here with Brian Huber and Jason Coslovich. We're going to talk about California waterfowl's banding over the summer and right before the season. So, fellows, welcome back to the show.
What's up?
Thanks for having us.
So, where are all the bands and the transmitters at?
All over the
place.
Don't
worry about it. Yeah. We don't need you finding out, Jeff.
Hey, I've got a couple of them. Hey, so, I mean, in terms of, this year compared to last year, it seems like you guys had some pretty good success this year with Klamath and the airboats and all that. So why don't you guys kind of tell us where you guys were at and how that went?
Exactly where we were at?
Like, not exactly where we were at, but with Klamath, with all the water, it sounds like you guys were pretty successul up there.
Well, it started with a crew in the Sac Valley.
Yeah.
We got access to some of the national refuges that have some pretty good summer water units, and we had a crew that was hard at work. They were on it, moving traps, scouting hard.
There's all swimming traps?
Swimming traps, yep. And they did really well. They got, 1,100 and something mallards?
Yeah, 1,105 mallards just in the Sacramento Valley.
Oh, wow.
So we haven't done that in quite a few years, just with the lack of summer water and, focusing up on Klamath when we have water up there. It's just a complete game changer for how many birds are up there versus down in the valley now. So
yeah, it
was nice to see, a big bounce back in the Sacramento Valley, as far as, summer water and molting mallards and some wood ducks too. So we caught a good amount of wood ducks in the swimming traps too in the Sacramento Valley. So
what's your guys' goal per year to reach? I mean, 1,000 seems like a lot.
So we have a contract with the state through the duck stamp funds. And our contract is to catch 1,000 mallards for the summer.
Okay.
And the goal is with all the banding throughout the entire state is to catch 1,000 adult male mallards, which with the lack of banding everywhere else, it's pretty tough to reach that goal. But that's kind of like the mark that they set for, to help with the modeling and stuff for the mallards.
Okay. So other than the California waterfowl and some of the fed places, like Sac Refuge or wherever, I mean, who else is doing banding here in California?
They were trying to do some at Grizzly.
Okay.
Grizzly Ranch was trying to do some. I know YOLO was trying to do some.
That's a USGS at Grizzly?
They were actually doing that internally with the state, I think,
awesome.
with some of their seasonals and stuff.
Yeah, they were trying to encourage each refuge to kind of have their own little band.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's great.
And then I know USGS, I think they were targeting YOLO for the most part and doing a little bit of stuff there. But they're mostly targeting smaller captures or smaller amounts of birds, to try and get transmitters out. So that's kind of the USGS's mission there is transmitters mostly.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yep.
And I mean, transmitter I think is pretty neat, but is it just specifically, USGS doing that? I know you guys have gotten some grants in the past to do that on some birds as well.
Yeah, we put transmitters out on quite a few birds. USGS will give us their transmitters pretty often just because they can't make it out to the field with us and we're running traps every day. So
they'll be like, hey, here's some transmitters.
Yeah, if you get any adult female pintail, put them out, whatever.
Gotcha.
But they have been definitely the ones who manage all that data.
Yeah.
They have the move bank set up. All the transmitter data goes to their database, and then they got the people to crunch the numbers there and do the analyses.
Oh, wow. Obviously you can get a lot more, but what's the pros and cons to potentially a transmitter on a bird? Pros, a lot of data. Obviously.
Yeah, these things are giving off so many data points. I know some of them are up in the hundreds of thousands of data points, for each transmitter. And it's just that really localized information. And then, we always, for the most part, we like to put them on hens, right? Because then we can get like the nesting season or nesting success. And you can pretty much tell, when they initiate their nest, when they start incubating, all based off of like the transmitter data. So it's really interesting for that. And then following them along on their molt.
You can tell if they had a successful nest because you can tell their behavior if, they're having a brood follow them around versus.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if the nest is not successful, they're going to take off. But if they stay localized and stay on one wetland unit, they probably got a brood with them.
Right. Does any idea of the bird with the transmitter on it the longest?
I don't know. No, I'd have to.
How long do
tease
they last,
all that stuff out?
Technically,
3 years is a good one.
Oh wow!
A lot of times it's not. So like early on, they were. I think the first transmitters they put out were 2G service, and then cell carriers stopped providing 2G, and so all those transmitters just went blank. And so they've been trying to keep up with the cell service. So that's knocked a lot off the map. And then you get, like, early on, the solar panels weren't raised. So they were finding out birds were preening their feathers over the solar panels and the batteries were dying. It's just been trial and error, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But I think if you can get 3 years out of a bird, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the transmitters do have impacts on the bird. Some species more than others. Like widgeon, cinnamon teal, certain species, you put the transmitters on and you can tell, like, they don't like it.
Oh,
so some of them
like, get it off and
some of them tough it out and make it, but like, and then you stick it on a mallard and they're like, whatever. So.
And pintails seem to be
some do good, some throw a fit when you put it on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you tell, like, once the transmitter is on, like, them really stressing out and things like that?
Some don't seem to. Some will, like, you put it on them and we try to put them. A lot of times we'll put them back in the crate just to let them calm down a little bit before you release them. And sometimes you throw them back in the crate and they're like fighting other ducks and just could care less. They have a transmitter on them. And other times you put them in the crate and they're like panting and like freaking out. So it definitely does have an impact on the bird survival.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, what's the cost of these things so people get an idea?
They're roughly, I think the latest ones we got were around $1,100 a piece.
A piece?
Yeah. Woo. And then you have the data fees on top of that. But most of them come with a pretty good data plan to start, so only like when you get those older ones that are lasting, then you need to buy some more data for them. But it's pretty reasonable, the data plans. But yeah, they're roughly $1,100 a piece. Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. That's expensive.
Yeah.
Some expensive ducks flying around out there.
Yep.
So if someone were to shoot one, the steps on potentially giving it back and what they receive.
Yeah, so we have, you report the metal band like any other band. There should be a thing to put an auxiliary, has an auxiliary marker on it. All the transmitters have either a phone number or an email on it. So you look on the transmitter and it should say, I can't remember what it says now, but should something at usgs.com.
Well, it used to be individual people.
But now it's like
now it's just a generalized
or something. Yeah,
generalized email address that you can email. But it used so if you get one of the older ones that has a person's name and email on it, they might not work anymore for USGS. You're always welcome to reach out to me or Brian, and we would know who to get a hold of over there. And then they ask you to return it. They will send you a dummy transmitter to put on a taxidermized bird. And then they'll send you a big laminated map of all the places that bird's been.
Yeah, I think that's probably the coolest part.
Is
the map, But enough with transmitters. Let's go back to our banding numbers and let's hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the summer banding went really well this year. Like I said, we started the Sac Valley, and then once we got the okay to move up to the Tule Lake Klamath Basin up there, we switched gears and started doing the night lighting up there. We didn't have any major botulism outbreaks this year. I mean, there was a few, but nothing, I bet it was less than 1,000 or maybe around there.
Yeah, they go all day and find like 50 birds in a couple of boats. So it's very miserable.
So that was big. There was a lot of water up there this summer, spread the birds around, which it partly made the trapping difficult, but, it gave us a longer period to trap because last few years we've had to actually stop banding because the botulism got so bad. So we had to, stop banding, and then they would switch gears to picking up the dead birds and stuff. So, no, it was great. Overall, I think for Northeastern California, we banded just over 7,000 birds, and that's with us, CWA and Fish and Wildlife Service up there. So the deal that we have up there is, we're contracted with the state to catch mallards. So all the mallards we catch, CWA puts our bands on. Anything else up there that we catch, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the refuge up there puts their bands out. So overall, we caught 7,290 birds.
So when you're doing the night lighting, it's just whatever's in front of you, you can basically catch it and put it in the crate, and you're going to band
whatever
it.
kind of duck. Yeah, I mean, you come across all kinds of crazy birds at night, but
well, we did catch pelicans last year. Put some transmitters on them.
Way.
That was a trip.
Was that a trip?
Yeah, it was.
You guys
weird.
wearing goggles and stuff, and like
no, the pelicans weren't.
The pelicans were bad. Yeah,
no. We put ibis. I mean, pretty much. What do we? Avocets, phalaropes, the tiny little shorebirds you see.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
They're like, they're size of a freshly hatched chicken. Like they're that small, and they were getting transmitters, and they were doing really well with them. That's just like one of those things where it's like you'd never expect them to. Granted, the transmitters are absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
But like I think they put one a couple years ago. They put one on a phalarope, and like the next morning it was in Salt Lake City or something bizarre.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
Some ibis too.
Yeah.
Caught a few ibis. and transmitters on those.
But we don't go catching those haphazardly. They'll tell us like, hey, we need a couple ibis to put transmitters on, and then the first boat will bring back a couple ibis.
And a lot of that is USGS working with other groups, that they're partnering with to try and, do more research on a broader scale than just waterfowl, So,
gotcha.
But the number one bird up there is almost always gadwall. So we caught just over 4,000 gadwall. Folks that are probably shooting birds now, they see the red paint on the bands.
Okay.
And so that we get a lot of questions about that. So the reason that we don't do it, but Fish and Wildlife Service up there does, is they paint all their fresh bands for the year red. So when we're trapping in these ponds and we catch a bird, like the next night we trap in that pond or something and we see a red band, we know that we just banded that bird, so we can let it go and we're not harassing the bird and putting it in a crate, any longer than we need to.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's just our way of identifying what we call bad recaptures, recaptures that we just got from previous banding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We rotate the same 2 or 3 units all summer.
Yeah.
So come the 4th week, you've already banded 3,000 birds in that unit. You're going to catch them.
Yeah, it gets frustrating too towards the end because you're like, I got, we're trying to catch birds and they're all recaptures, and you're like, oh man, we trapped this pond out. We got to find a new pond, But what was the other highlight?
Redheads, probably.
The ruddy ducks.
Some ruds?
Oh yeah. Landon and his ruddy ducks.
Shout out to Landon.
Yeah, he's the ruddy duck banding king. Yeah, we caught 80 ruddy ducks.
Holy moly!
So that was kind of fun catching those. They're a pain in the butt to catch in the boat too because they dive and dip and swim around and stuff. So
the ruds,
number one ruddy banding station in the nation.
Yeah, and then it was the redheads kind of made a big comeback too. 1,100 banded redheads up there too.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat. They come and go with the water situation. I mean, a couple of years ago, we hardly caught any. But prior to that, we would catch, probably 800 to 1,000.
Oh, really?
Especially that Unit 2. When that Unit 2 is good water, that's when the redheads show up. They like breeding in there. Cool. Yeah.
And then some cinnamon teal, a couple canvasbacks, some widgeon, some pintail. We caught a hooded merganser up there, which was kind of neat.
On Klamath?
Yeah. Yep.
Not many trees around that area, eh?
No, but we've caught a wood duck or two almost every year up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting.
Actually, I know a guy that just hunted up there recently. They actually shot a wood duck out at Sump 1B.
Really?
Yeah. It's like,
they're around. I mean, there's some wood duck boxes and stuff up there at the refuge, but I've never. We see them. We were summer banding up there in the swim-in traps, and I think we caught a brood up there. So they're definitely up there. Wow. Yeah.
The lesser scaup are pretty cool.
Yeah,
we caught 6 lesser scaup ducklings.
Yep.
So there was a couple of those up there breeding.
Oh wow!
I've never seen that before.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
If you want to support California waterfowl, go to calwaterfowl.org and check out some of our events. So some of our upcoming events is November 4th, Paso Robles. We have a recruitment and social there. November 5th, we have another recruitment social in Salinas. November 7th is our Galt Lodi banquet. November 8th is our Butte City Glen banquet. And then November 13th, our Alamo and Dingville banquet. So if you want to get involved, support California waterfowl, win some cool stuff, go to calwaterfowl.org and buy your event ticket today.
Yep.
Do you guys ever get into, the Canada geese and helping out with those?
We have in previous years. So the state runs a little banding operation over the summer when the geese are molting. And they'll kind of put a crew together and travel. When they fly the surveys, they get an idea where the good spots are for geese, and then they'll kind of pinpoint some areas in northeastern California, and they do what we call the corral traps. So you set a big fence line kind of going each direction, and then it corrals the birds into a trap.
Okay.
So you get out there in kayaks and sometimes a quad, to keep them off the shore, and then you just kind of push them in with the kayaks into that funnel. Into the trap.
Just herd them.
Yeah. And we've done that with the state and also with the Fish and Wildlife Service up there at Klamath. But we don't, we don't set it up. We don't
have a contract to do it, but if we're free and they need help, we'll show up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, that's fun. I mean, it's, you get a lot of birds and those big old Canada geese, they beat you up pretty good. They put up a pretty good fight. So,
yeah, it's funny at night, you come across Canada geese, and if I'm driving, I don't even go anywhere near them. But some of the other boat operators like catching them, and then you got the catchers on the front trying to wrangle us. They get one Canada goose in the net, and it's beating the crap out of them. And they throw it in a crate, and then you're fighting with it back at the banding station. I just sit there and laugh the whole time.
What a mess! Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But yeah, the technique we use up there, you know, for folks that don't know, is night lighting. And that process is basically you start right when the sun goes down. You want to wait till it's dark. It's better on darker nights. And the basic idea is that you drive around in an airboat at night. You find a duck and you spotlight it. So you have a spotlight in your hand, the driver. You shine it on the bird and it kind of stuns them and slows them down. And then you have a catcher up on the front of your boat with basically a fishing net. And he just scoops them up with the fishing net, puts them in a crate, and then we bring them back to like a banding station, band them, and let them go.
Does this surprise you guys sometimes, like by looking at a unit during the day and be like, there's not a lot of birds out there, and then you go out there at night and it's just like birds everywhere?
What's really surprising is how sometimes it gets better throughout the night.
Oh, really?
Like you would think, you got 3 or 4 big V8 no muffler airboats that are loud, right? We wear double ear protection. We wear foamies inside and then muffs on the outside because they're so loud. And you think as soon as you fire those things up, everything's going to run to the bushes. But like a lot of times the first run comes back and each boat has a couple crates. Like, man, it sucks out there. And it's like, all right, who wants to go and round up another crew and go out there? And it's like, there's birds everywhere all of a sudden. And it's, I don't know what, like the noise brings them out. The tulies, they don't like being in the cover at night. I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, sometimes it gets better as the night goes on.
Yeah. And it's gone both ways. You know, we'll see pond in the day and it'll just be loaded with birds. And then we go out there at night and we just don't catch anything. And it's gone the opposite way too, where it's like you don't see anything. So you just never know. I mean, those, you know, when those birds are molting, they're taking cover, you know, during the day. They want to hide out. They don't want to be exposed. They can't fly, right? So they're pretty vulnerable. So yeah, it goes both ways.
Do you guys ever do night lighting down here in the Sac Valley, or is there just not really a need for it?
The problem is we don't have our own airboat, or we don't have, you know, access to airboats down here like we do up there. So the refuge up there owns 5 or 6 airboats that they kind of cycle through and maintain and keep track of.
Gotcha.
There was one summer where we had a volunteer let us use his airboat. We did a couple nights down on our CWA properties.
Okay.
And it was pretty successful. I mean, we caught over 100 birds at Denverton and Grizzly, and it was fun. So it was kind of prove the point that, you know, we can do it in other places, you know, just if we had the tools to do it.
Sac Complex used to have a biologist that was pretty gung-ho on night lighting, and so he'd go 4 or 5 nights a year, and sometimes we get the call to help him out on that. And then we've tried like Gray Lodge.
We tried Gray Lodge and never
Little Dry Creek ones. But you gotta have the right units for it. You gotta have 100+ acres. You gotta have the right vegetation
down here. Units, you know?
We used to have those units, but we just don't see them anymore. You know, that's kind of summer habitat that we used to attract a lot more molting birds. You know, Sac Complex definitely has some. I know. YOLO's really kind of stepping up on their stuff too. So in the future, it'd be neat to do it down at YOLO or something. We talked about it this year, but we were just so busy up in Northeast that it just didn't happen. So
gotcha.
Yep.
Do you guys prefer going up to the Northeast than banding down here? I mean, a little bit cooler. Or?
It's a different experience. Yeah, I mean
the drive sucks. Driving, we'd go up there every week, 2 nights a week, and you're staying in a hotel, and so it just kind of gets old. But the trapping's so good up there, and then just the crew that they have and how they mesh with us, it just works out. We all have a good time, and we look forward to it. But by the 4th or 5th week, we're like, we're kind of burnt out.
Yep.
We're good.
Yep. Yeah, it was actually pretty neat this year. I was able to bring my son out a couple times. My 8-year-old son, you know, up there on the front of the boat, you know, catching birds and hanging out with the crew and stuff. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, man. He talks about it all the time with his friends and stuff.
That's so freaking cool.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, you guys just kind of wrapped up preseason pintail banding down here. How did that all go right before the season?
It went good. I mean, it started off pretty slow. Some circumstances, you know, how that usually goes is that we have a contract with the state again through duck stamp funds. And we generally are, the way we have it broken down, so the state has their banding crew, we have a banding crew. We work together. You know, when we have a big shot, we try and help each other. Generally speaking, the state stays on the west side of the Sac River, so they get, you know, the national wildlife refuges, and then we stay on the east side or anywhere else we can find birds. So our contract for that is to catch 500 pintail, and then their goal is to catch 1,500 pintail, so a total of 2,000 every preseason. Some circumstances happened where they weren't able to get their crew started, and so we were able to go over to the west side, and we caught, 1,600 birds in 2 weeks or something? I mean,
1,624 pintail.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Yeah.
It was like 7 trapping days.
Yeah.
So we didn't trap that weekend. But
we had some amazing shots. Yeah, I think what was our biggest, like
329.
Yeah, 329.
One net
and two nets together.
A 2-net set, but one shot. Yep,
that's good.
And I think we only had one mortality in that one.
Yeah,
which is pretty.
We only ever
impressive.
shot 3 different nets.
Yeah.
Shot them a couple times each.
How many people were on that big?
It was
we had I think 8 or 9,
4
probably.
or 5 of us, and then the 2 or
okay. I was gonna say it wasn't like 4.
No. When we have those big shots, we have to make sure we have enough people, especially on the federal refuges. You know, we have to have all our.
Yeah, we had some help from Fish and Wildlife technicians, so that was
gotcha.
Yeah, there was a solid crew of us every day.
But we had, I got to give a shout out to our crew too. I mean, this whole summer and preseason, we had a returning crew of technicians that did really well, and they were just really trained, and they were gung ho, and they did a really good job for us. So it's so nice having the experienced crew come back and just get to work and get it done.
We can just go set a net for the first time and not have to worry about training people and making sure.
Yeah, and they probably know what to look for, and they know the drill. And just like anything makes it really work well.
We also caught some greater white-fronted geese. We caught about 40 of those. We caught a lot more of them, but we just had so many pintail in our nets that we had to let them go because we just didn't have the capacity with crates and time and everything. Handful of shovelers, some widgeon, a couple teal, and a gadwall. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good preseason, so we were pretty happy with that. And then I believe the state went and shot a net or 2 afterwards, and to get closer to that 2,000 bird goal for pintail.
Like prior to the season, just duck numbers in general that you were just seeing. Did you guys seeing more on the landscape prior to duck season, or less, or comparable?
There wasn't as much water as normal.
Yeah, I would say that
those
too,
west side refuges were slower, as people have seen on the posts online. They've been slower to float up this year. Calusa was ahead of schedule, I think, with water, but the other 2 were a little slower, and that's just lack of staffing and funding,
right?
And I guess some beaver damage supposedly is what I've been hearing.
Yeah, I heard there's some water control structures or something.
Yeah, I know this summer there was water like running over Road 68 and something. They probably got a bad culvert or one of their main delivery ditches is probably caved in or something crazy. So, no fault to them. It's just dealing with managing a
wetland management.
Yeah. There's only one person out there right now, or was, or something.
I'm not sure their status. I know they've lost quite a few people, and I think they're having a hard time, getting those places filled up and shut down, and all the stuff going on. So
but I mean, what was flooded had birds in it, and then obviously the trapping was pretty good. So,
yeah.
But it just wasn't. I don't think it was quite as impressive as in years past that I've seen. But
I think a lot of geese showed up fairly. They didn't show up early, but when they showed up, they were just massive.
Oh, and they were
of geese.
concentrated too. So, there wasn't quite as much water around. And then you get the geese in a unit you're trying to catch ducks in. Well, they're going to take over the roads early, and you got to wait until they leave to go feed in the dry rice. And an hour before sunset, then you got an hour of hoping that the pintail get on the bank.
And it's crazy because you watch the geese leave, and then you see the pintail almost just like bomb rush the edge that they were sitting on and kind of take over. They're like, finally, it's our turn to hang out. And then here come me and Jason and shoot a net over their heads, But Yep. So no, it was good. I mean, I think we had a couple good recaptures. We had one recapture that I had to acid etch the band, and it was I can't remember how many years old. I think it was 8 or 9 year old pintail.
Oh wow!
And it was banded at the exact same place, pretty much.
Was there
the same refuge?
Was there a D10 recapture or something weird?
That was a summer. One of the summer bands we had to take an etch, and it was I think it was a 10-year-old D10 mallard. That,
wow!
We banded it, egg salvage bird.
Egg salvage bird,
9 or 10 years old. Yeah. So that was pretty neat. Yeah. Yep. And then there was also a female recapture that was fairly old. I can't remember the details. It was like 8 or 9 years old female, which was pretty, pretty good for a female.
Now with the etching, do you think it's just wear and tear, or is it like water quality?
It's the water quality. Yeah, if it has like the alkaline water, that's where I think we start seeing it just deteriorate.
I feel like it's just any sand, birds hanging around sandy banks, stuff like that can kind of.
And it's definitely, we've seen it more in the size 6 bands too. So a lot of folks are going to like the stainless steel bands for all their size 6s, but they're a pain in the butt to put on.
Yeah, we went to that for redheads this year.
Really
hard. We did
1,100
of those stainless. They call them inkalloy.
Yeah,
but it's basically stainless.
Gotcha.
And they're a lot harder of metal than aluminum. So trying to pinch them and make them look right and be flush and not sharp, it takes probably twice as much time to put a band on.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And what are you doing when you're etching them to find the numbers?
It's just a process that you do where you have an acid and you put it in an acid, and then the acid like eats away at the metal to like bring out the what do you call it? The imprint marks from the numbers, because they stamp the band.
Yeah.
And so that stamp like still goes through the metal, and so you can actually pull it out with acid etching it. So it just kind of removes layers, I guess, of the metal to reveal that punch, the stamp.
Gotcha.
And then it's a process, I do it at my house because we've had bands that we've sent back to the BBL and they never send them back. Right. So that's bummer. I had one of our, a hunter shot a bird and I was like, oh, I'll send it back to the BBL for you. And then we never got it back. And so it's just kind of, it's fairly easy to do if you have the equipment at your house, and so I don't recommend anybody just going and buying acid and splashing around with it. You got to be real careful and do it the right way. But once you do that, it's amazing, how it pulls the numbers off. It just, you put it in the solution, then you just will see it like bubbling.
Yeah.
Bubbling, and then you can just kind of keep checking the numbers, and then eventually you can read them. It's amazing how easy it is to see them. Yeah, once they pop.
My brother has a gadwall band. I'll have to give it to you.
Yeah,
it's like
I've probably
barely see anything off it.
Boy, by now I bet I've probably etched 25 to 30 bands, and there's only been one that I wasn't able to get the number off of because it wore so much that it actually wore the spot where the number was off. So it was worn so bad that you couldn't even, the number wasn't even there because it was worn out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yep.
Huh. So now we're duck season has started. I mean, do you guys help throughout the season? Like I know you guys have helped out with like Aleutians and stuff in the past. Is there anything on the horizons?
As far as banding goes, yeah, that's really the only thing during duck season that they do is the Aleutian trapping down in the Delta region. And the 8-10 years ago, that there was one spot where they'd catch them, and it was kind of like a thing you go do, just go hang out. Oh. There's easy trap, and they're almost guaranteed to shoot a net. It was, show up, bang, catch them, high fives, and head home. And now they got to spread out and try a lot harder for them. So we still try to help out where we can, but it's just they're here and there. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's hard to get down there and get a successful shot, but they're still going to be trying for that. We do a lot of like updating contracts. The Calusa dinner, that's another thing we should probably talk about. That's coming up December 6th. Me and Brian are both in the committee for that, and all those proceeds go to waterfowl programs. So we help out. That's a big process. Some hunt program stuff.
You guys the chairs now? Who's the chair of
that? Chelsea Rathjen.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
She helps out at all of our dinners. It seems like
one of our biggest dinners. That Black Hawk and
Gridley,
and I think Fresno's back up there as well. So
and then some hunt program stuff. The college camps.
Yep. Looking forward to that. We got 2 coming up. One next month, which is crazy, and then the other one in January. So.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get all of our banding data in, and with the government shutdown, there's problems on the banding portal site, and so I can't turn in some of our data because there's nobody there to help with the process. So if you shoot a band, report it, it'll eventually get turned in once this government shutdown gets all worked out. And then, I'm busy right now trying to get all the wood duck projects in. So the wood duck season's over. We're trying to collect all that data and get it published, for the magazine. So if you have new wood duck boxes, you have an old project, new project, you have any kind of data, send it our way, and we'll get you in the magazine for the spring edition of our magazine.
Yeah, and can you guys speak to the importance of actually reporting your band opposed to just putting it on your lanyard and not reporting it?
Well, that's the whole purpose of them is really survival rates. You get migrational patterns and stuff like that, but we have transmitters, and we know how that stuff works for years. But keeping track of survival rates and hunter harvest, and how that's changing throughout the years with droughts and good water years and hunting pressure and just changes on the landscape is important to updating the models. They call it adaptive harvest management for a reason. It's adaptive. We try to stay on top of the big changes and adjust our bag limits accordingly. And, some people are afraid to report their bands because it might lead to a reduction in bag limits. But if you look what just happened with the pintail,
right.
The harvest data was suggesting it doesn't have an impact on the population numbers. So it actually got us a chance to shoot more pintail. Yeah. So just report your bands. And for once, you get a little insight into where your bird came from.
Yeah, I mean, I've always reported because I think that's the coolest thing. Is like, is this bird 6 years old? Is it 10 years old?
Right.
Where was it banded? Was it banded in Canada or California or whatever? But yeah, I talked to some folks, but they have that concern. Like, I don't report my stuff because X, Y, and Z, and you just shake your head like, come on.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, cool. Just want to say thank you guys so much for coming on, and please report your bands and go to that Calusa dinner to support the waterfowl programs. What's the date of that?
December 6th.
December 6th.
And any rice farmers out there, our rice levy program is open for enrollment. So if you got rice levies and you want to provide some nesting habitat on them potentially, check out CWA's website. It's under the conservation tab. Encourage you to apply. It's a cool program and you could use some more enrollment. So.
Go to calwaterfowl.org. What type of prices are we giving folks?
We did a fixed rate this year, and I should know this offhand, but I don't. I think it was 80 or 85 cents per linear foot of levee. So you got a big field, it adds up.
To leave it and
leave the vegetation standing on the levee from the previous growing season.
Right on. Yep. Sweet. Perfect. Well, thank you guys.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Save It for the Blind podcast. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.